Hello model railroaders, I'm Dave. Welcome back to the layout for the first video of 2019. Well, it's been a life interruptus couple of months for me, and I haven't really had a chance to do a whole lot on the layout, so no content to post anything. But I've got a little bit done now, and I think it's worthy enough to give a video update and let you know what's been happening. So I decided to do a 1-inch foam base in the refinery area and in what will be the logging mill area. I was originally going to do a 1/2 inch, but I would really like to do a water effect for the logging mill, for the logs to be pulled up into the track to be drawn into the mill to be cut from the storage area, and also to be a little more realistic, all of the tanks for the refinery really need to be in some kind of a berm, and one way to do that is to have enough foam thickness that something can be done. So that's what's going to go on here. Currently I've got 3 different pieces to make up this section, as you can see here. So the thought is this triangular piece could be removed at a later time and a 1/2 inch piece of foam put in there to give it that bermed look. I don't know if that will happen or not, but that leaves that opportunity there for me to take. Everything's overcut at the moment. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of clearance between the foam and the rail. There's enough for cars to make the curve, though at a later point I'll go in once everything is finalized and I can bevel that for scenicking. So that's the thought. These tracks have been roughly laid out. I've scribed in where the edges need to be, because it's a little frustrating, which is another reason why I probably haven't been overly enthused in continuing with this aspect of the project. I've got to install this right-handed turnout here, and then I need to gradient up to somewhere in this area, which is about 40 inches. So that's more than a 2% grade, and I'm not the most enthused about that. However, I can't really run a gradient on this area because I want to be able to use it as a runaround for pulling cars out and such and so forth. So, and that's runaround will work for both the refinery area over there and for the logging area over here. So this track here will be for the raw logs coming in, and this track here will be for loading up the flat cars or the box cars with the cut lumber. So figuring out where all the lines are going to go, and I've got a limited amount of good foam that I would like to use. Like this foam I've got to cut back, which is why it's been used here. As you can see, it's very warped, but I'm going to be cutting out this chunk regardless for the gradient that needs to span between the 2 turnouts. So Between that and I'm down to my last few of my Pico rail joiners. Got lots of Atlas still, but very few Pico. So I just, with having back-to-back colds and picking up a sinus infection due to the cold, and then unfortunately we lost our oldest dog due to an illness, that just life interrupted in such a way that I've actually missed two local-ish model train shows. So I haven't had a chance to get out and restock. So hopefully the next local-ish show will be in the end of March that I'm hoping to attend. So, and again, finances as well. You know, you've got to pay property tax. Having a home to have the layout staged in, those bills come first. So you work with what you have. And another frustrating thing, in my previous layout, in my Atlas switches, I was using the tortoises. So I pulled all of the manual switches off, and this is an Atlas Y. Think I can find the Ziploc bag that has all of those manually activated turnout switches in it? I have no idea where I put it. Very, very frustrating. And of course, because it's a Y, I just can't throw any other manual switch on there from another switch. So that's where the layout build is. It's kind of stalled for a moment, but staged here is the bit of foam that I'm going to use to make that riser. So I'll measure out probably just a little over 40 inches and cut a block out, and then using the flat I'll come up the edge over the 40 inches till I'm at 1 inch, and then I may be able to get two risers out of the one section, and I'll probably, you know, make it whatever my distance here is. It's 3 inches, so I'll just make it a 3-inch wide section. Sorry, grab the ruler, and 3 inches will put me about there. So that will work out fairly well. I'm about 3.5 inches, or about 3 inches where I need to start the gradient. So that'll work out at 3 inches. And as I've shown in a previous video, I'll use a couple of guides, and I'll use the hot wire using the guides to cut the gradient out of the foam. I believe it was one of the videos for doing the gradient up here, if I'm remembering correctly. So that's about all the layout accomplishment, or lack thereof. Though I did pick up a tool, and this I'm hoping to use in the future, is a hand vacuum pump. And where this will be used, and of course I picked it up on sale, but where this will be used would be if I need to degas either the two-part mold kit or the epoxy, though I'm more leaning towards pressurizing to make the bubbles very small rather than try and expand the bubbles to a larger volume by decreasing the pressure in the container so that the bubbles will rise to the surface. So there's two ways to go about it, and But the only other real acquisition was this set of brass laboratory sieves. And this gives me more of a gradient in sifting down to specific finer sizes and finer layers within the total amount of rock that I want to sieve. So coming from a laboratory background, I'm very familiar with these, or this style of sieving. And then I still have over there in the back is the green sieves that I was using, that I showed in a previous video during the summer. So come summertime, when I can make some dust again, we'll break these out, and maybe if I can get a scale or a balance that I can actually fit these on, I can do a weight percentage and see what various commercial ballasts are as far as the fine ballast goes, a little bit better than my guesstimate that I did in my previous video, so I can more dial in my own homemade ballast. And speaking of which, now that it is winter, I'll show you, even though I haven't been actively down the basement, I have been trying to plug away at other things. So you'll remember in a previous video where I was talking about getting the gravel, or what I'll use as riprap along the tracks, where I'd gotten a salt and traction mix for the sidewalk. So of course we were using it, and as the snow and wetness dried up, of course you're left with the rock on the concrete. So we just went out with a broom and a dustpan and swept it up and rinsed it well with water, dried it, and I've collected a fair bit of riprap, or what will become riprap, or scenic accents, whatever you want to call it. Now another way is actually with just grabbing a pair of tweezers and putting the salt and rock mix on a piece of paper towel and picking the rock out from the salt, which is what I've done here. Because again, I want to actually use the salt on the sidewalk, so I don't want to dissolve it all and flush it down the drain. So there's some good rock for scenic accents, and that's the two different ways of acquiring it, and still make use of the salt. I believe that's a limestone, at least that's what it looks like. So not a whole lot of progress, unfortunately, but with the weather changing, hopefully the enthusiasm level will increase. Maybe a little more vitamin D is what is required to get rid of the winter blahs. But I'm hoping for a very soon future update to at least have this track all done and installed. So until the next video, I hope everyone that watches the videos is in good health and is tolerating this winter and has gotten through it without any major snow-related incidents. And we'll talk to you on the next video. Bye for now.